Hi there, my name is Kendrick, and today I get to interview Holly. So Holly, welcome.
Thanks.
Holly, can you tell us your full type, please?
Yep, I'm an ESTJ jumper, visual, Te-Ne, play, consume, sleep, blast.
God, can you say that again? You said it super fast.
Sorry. One more time. ESTJ jumper, Te-Ne, play, consume, sleep, blast, and visual.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Yeah, it's okay. You know, people with NE tend to talk faster, so it's fine.
I do, yeah. And people are like, what did you say? And, you know, I'm sure I'm mumbling as well. So
yeah,
doesn't have communication.
Yeah, that's true. Right? You're blast last. You're also visual. And, you know, according to Shan, visuals are the worst at like talking. So
I really feel that. Yes.
So what did you think and how did you feel when you got your results back?
I wasn't actually surprised by EJ because about 2 weeks before I got my type back, I'd sort of come to the conclusion that most of my life problems were demon FI problems, but NE was a surprise. So I thought I was going to be more like Shan, but yeah, NE surprised me.
All right. And since knowing that you have NE as a savior and it's also masculine NE, as a matter of fact, you don't just have masculine NE savior, you have double masculine NT play.
Yes.
With the masculine also. But before we jump into that part, let's go with the NE first. So when you discovered that you were Shan-like, but not quite, because you are like the SI-NE axis, what did you think about that? You know, and how did you feel about that?
I very quickly got on a call with Shan and I was like, tell me where you saw NE. Like, how did you see it? Because I was pretty certain that I was a sensor, which is hilarious now. And it's like when I'm talking, I tend to give overviews. I just cannot give detail. I try, and it's just very minor detail that I try to give. And like when I talk, I'll be like, oh, for example, and then I give a hypothetical. I don't actually give sensory detail. And I'm constantly making connections, blah, 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 the whole NE thing. So,
right.
Yeah.
And then what about your masculine TE? How do you personally experience that? Because that would make you quite aggressive, supposedly.
Supposedly, yeah. That was actually another part of my type that did take me quite a long time to kind of resolve because like, and I talked to Shan about this and she said the same thing. Like, because we don't see ourselves as aggressive, the masculine TEs, like we see our feminine inside. You know, which is kind of this cute flowery thing that's easily hurt. And I think I can be quite direct in my communication, but mostly the masculinity comes out when someone's hit the FI. And I've actually had people point out to me when I do it because I don't see it. So
let's talk about your double masculine NT now. So maybe this one is more obvious because this is your first animal. Do you find yourself pretty confident when it comes to problem solving with the tribe because of the whole play and it's NT, you know?
Yes. What I don't like is having to make the decisions. So doing the play and collecting people's opinions and ideas and, you know, for the purpose of finding a solution is great, but I don't want to be the person to make the decision. I always kind of refer to someone else to do that.
I guess that's the blast at the bottom, like the ST blast. And I also think that maybe it's also because you're an EJ and making decisions is also difficult, you know, single decider.
Because the decisions you make will affect everyone. And like, we're well aware of that. And we don't want to upset someone if the decision that we've made doesn't make everyone happy or doesn't work for everyone.
Right. I guess that puts too much pressure on you and also the spotlight on you if something goes wrong.
Yeah, it does. So like my role at work, I'm the problem solver, but I always kind of defer to my boss to then make the final decision so that if someone doesn't like the decision that's made, then they can go and talk to her. So I don't have to deal with it.
What is your day job?
It's a bit of a hybrid role. So I'm a project manager, and then the other part of my role is kind of just anything and everything, like whatever people need help with or need done, then that's what I do. I write reports, which I really hate doing. I just do all sorts of random stuff. So it's
Yeah,
good variety. It's great for NT play. I'm kind of end up being like that go-to person that if someone needs help with something or they don't know who to talk to about someone, then I'm that person.
yeah, I can see the reporting being difficult with you because of that feminine SI. So why don't we talk about that then? Let's talk about your feminine SI. What kind of struggles have you had having that feminine SI, and also what benefits do you see with having it as well?
Okay, so remembering detail is probably the thing that annoys me the most. Like in conversation, I'll want to refer to something to actually provide the proof that I know what I'm talking about, but I can't remember it. And it's really annoying. So I often like rely on actually writing things down. When it comes to, I'm starting to see the benefits of demon feminine SI because I can only see it as being a nuisance, especially in the workplace, especially being a project manager because it's very SI heavy. And I kind of have the best intentions when it comes to organizing my information and having it in places where it's easy to refer to and easy to share with other people. But I can only do it for a very short amount of time, and then I sort of get overwhelmed and I have to move on to something else.
Right. I guess you have to channel change. You can't help it.
I really can't help it, and I think that's another part of the double masculine NT play is that I really cannot focus on one thing at one time. I'm always doing multiple things at once. And I know it's not multitasking, but it just means that my attention is constantly divided and I'm very unfocused. And then with the demon sensory, I make mistakes, just not good.
Yeah.
So
It's funny. Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say I'm struggling to see the benefits of feminine SI. I mean, I still have these kind of weird things that I get kind of obsessed with, like in my house. Like I have to have things a certain way, like they have to be tidy, and everything kind of has its place and it needs to kind of go back into its place. If someone moves it, I get annoyed. But it, like, I do it in a demon state. It comes out in like a really sort of weird, awkward way.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess the benefit of it is you're flexible on the steps to achieve something, because you're more flexible with that. You're not as rigid, the SI is like step 1, step 2, step 3. So for you, you're more flexible. So
unless you're following a recipe, it's not good.
yeah. No, not for cooking, but for work, I guess it would be good. Yeah.
Yeah. I was actually thinking about this because, like, when I'm trying to learn something new, I guess like having the NE makes it really, and you can probably relate to this, means that you pick up things really quickly. You're a really fast learner, but you don't really want to know the detail. So you know enough to be able to use the tool or the system or, make something work, get something done, but you just don't know the detail and you don't really care about knowing the detail. And so when people come to you and ask you these like weird little questions about it, you're kind of like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't read that part. I didn't need to know that part.
I think when I was younger, I was like that. But then I think as I got older and then I started knowing how to use that masculine SI, then it's changed a bit. Like I guess as you get older, you start to, I don't know, I guess it depends on the person also. But for me, I find that I'm liking using my fourth and function now, like the SI at the bottom.
That's good.
I still get triggered by it like a lot, but I also enjoy the challenge of practicing on using it because it's I think it's like your fourth function is what triggers you, but in terms of a sense of satisfaction, in terms of like personal growth, I think it also comes from the fourth one also. So it's
absolutely
double-edged sword essentially.
It is, yeah. In small doses. I guess it's kind of like that 1% growth over time thing when it comes to your demons is probably what works.
Yeah, I think you can get like decent at it, like you'll never be like as good as someone that has it as their fourth or their first animal, but you can get pretty decent at it, like where it's functional,
yeah.
So since we're talking about that, let's talk about your FI then, the scary FI at the bottom there, feminine FI.
Yes.
So what I like about the classes that David Chan shows is that even people with feminine FI can learn how to use it and learn how to get in touch with it. And actually be quite good at it. Like they use Arnold Schwarzenegger as an example, and Tony Robbins, you know, like, so quite a few people that have like feminine FI can eventually, you know, use it. And
Yeah.
so how do you personally see your feminine FI? Like, how do you get triggered by it? How do you see yourself growing when you do practice using it? Like, can you just share some of that?
I think it's going to be difficult to talk about it without referring to the SF sleep, because it's very much in my SF sleep. And it's like my FI is more kind of a nostalgic, timeless identity, I guess, that I've sort of preserved from my childhood. And so a lot of my FI is kind of my childhood. So I guess it's a really awful way of saying it, but like the inner child is the FI, and I guess it's feminine FI, so it kind of is an inner child in a way. But I do see it as very delicate, very easily hurt, which is why it's difficult for me to kind of share that with other people. Like I really have to trust the person, actually feel like they're interested in knowing before I'll share. And it just makes it difficult to connect with people, actually. And this is something that I kind of had to learn after getting my type back, was that you can't really connect with other people unless you've kind of connected with yourself in a way. And so that was something that I had to work on after getting my type back, was actually getting back in touch with that FI, because I had kind of gone all in on the T and totally disregarded my FI. So yeah, that's been a path of growth for me.
I think the more I find about FI, like, you know, with FP, they can connect with people.
Yeah.
FP, right? But it's kind of fake, you know, it's like a fake connection. Like I mean, at least in the short term, you know, obviously, you know, you can get to know them as well, and you can have a deeper connection. But I find with FI, you can make it like FE-ish, like the more experience you've had with like different variety of emotions, you know.
I think FE is really good at building rapport with people very quickly. And like I see that and I want to emulate that, because like I've seen like how it builds connection and makes people work together better. So especially in the workplace, I see FE as being really valuable. But like I think, I wouldn't say it's fake, but I would say that FI obviously does it differently. And if you're using FI through TE, it does look a bit different. And I think with FI, it's difficult to, or at least I find it difficult to, I guess, fake a connection. And so that's like the thing is you shouldn't have to fake it. You shouldn't have to fake a connection with someone. Like if your purpose is to connect with people, and if you've kind of made that your purpose in the interaction with someone, then you shouldn't have to fake it.
It's a little bit harder for FI. I think you can't emotionally connect with someone unless you felt that thing that they're like conveying to you, you know, like you need firsthand experience almost, because otherwise like it's hard to like relate essentially, you know.
Yeah, I do think if you haven't done the work, then yeah, it's definitely difficult. But I think that is something that people with FI can definitely learn.
Right. I like FE better when it's in the middle, like second or third, because they mix their TI in there, so it's like it's balanced. Because I feel like pure FE, no offense to like ENFJ and ESFJs, I love you guys, but you know, it's just you know, it just like sometimes it's like I want to hear your TI also, and if we were to connect, I want to hear both sides. I don't want to hear just like the FE, you know, trying to make things as socially appropriate as possible. I think sometimes going too hard on that actually ruins the vibe.
Yeah, but isn't that the same for everyone? Like I know if I were talking to someone, I would want to see their T and their F. Like I'd want a combination of it.
Yeah, exactly.
And everyone else probably feels the same about people on the TE-FI axis. They probably want to see both.
Yeah, you got it. Exactly. So in your case, people want to hear your FI, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, that is something that that I know that I'm aware of. I've been aware of for a while, but it's just difficult to share.
And you have double activated FI. It's not just like FI, you know.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about that, having that like double activated?
I think like the way I experience is that the having it double activated means that I'm more aware of it, I guess. But with the T being masculine, I still need to be conscious not to kind of push it down and ignore it, because that is kind of always my default, is to go, no, I'm not going to listen to how I feel, doesn't matter, and then go on with what makes sense for everyone else.
Yeah, I can see that feminine FI, especially for you, double feminine SF sleep. Like that's so hard. I don't even know how you're, because I have double feminine NT play as my
Yeah.
first animal, and like oftentimes when I get in a group situation, like I second guess myself because of that double feminine NT play.
Okay. Yeah.
So even though it's double feminine and it's even though it's double activated, it's my first animal. I just get like really insecure about it. And you know, the weird thing is usually it's not even wrong. It's just like for some reason, because it's feminine, I'm like so insecure about it. I'm like, did I figure it out right? You know? And I mean, I did notice like over time, like the more reps I put into it, the better it gets. You know, like sometimes I'm second guessing myself and I'm like, no, stop, Kendrick, stop. Look at your track record. You have track record that says that whatever you figured out is correct. Just have confidence in it. It's like I have to like give myself like a pep talk. It's kind of ridiculous, you know.
Well, I think that's the thing, because it's extroverted. You can get that feedback, the outside feedback from people as to whether you need to be insecure about it or not.
Yeah.
Whereas the double feminine sleep, like being introverted, I'm not getting any feedback on it. I'm just keeping it to myself and I'm not sharing it. And so of course it's super insecure and weird, and you know, well, I mean, I think it's weird.
Yeah, and that's what I mean when I said it's gonna be harder for you because it's internal, and the internal functions or animals hurt more when you bring it out. The external one, it doesn't really hurt that. It doesn't hurt as much, you know. Like
yeah. Like I even get weird about sharing my interest in OP with people who are not in OP. Like I sort of really briefly mentioned it to my boss the other day because she's asking what I was doing for the weekend. And then she wanted to know more about it. And I was like, oh no, how do I talk about this? And then she was like, oh, you should tell the team about it. I'm going to ask you about it the next time we have our kind of team catch up in the morning. And I was like, oh no.
It threw you under the bus.
Yes. I did it to myself though. I shouldn't have mentioned it.
Yeah, next you'll be doing like what do you call it? Like a presentation on it, you know?
Well, I think that's what she wants.
Yeah.
And then I was actually thinking, how am I going to explain this? Where do I start? I'm going to have to blast this. Oh no.
Yeah, I don't, you know what? That's a good question though, because even like someone like me who don't feel insecure about it, I don't even know where to start. Like, how do you explain this to people? It's so weird, you know?
Well, I guess, you know, having demon sensory as well doesn't help, or demon SI, because there's so many parts to it. It's not like it's there's one thing. Well, I guess there probably is one thing you start with, and then you can kind of follow like a linear path to it. But it's I don't know. I've seen lots of questions come up on the Facebook group of people saying, "How do I explain OP to someone who doesn't know about it?"
Well, it's complex because they have to know the cognitive functions first. So if they don't even know that, like, how could you explain OPS? Because it's even more advanced, right? You know, with like,
I guess like most people are at least aware of the 16 personalities on Myers-Briggs.
Yeah, so everyone knows about Myers-Briggs, but
you
know, like not everyone knows about cognitive functions, which is like the next step. And then after cognitive functions, there's animals and all this stuff, which so it's like, you know, the how deep it is, it's like really hard to explain. Like just got a new job, started last Monday, or Tuesday, Monday, Tuesday. So I got a new job, right?
What are you doing?
My day job for like the last 9 years was in fitness. So I work in personal training, group fitness. I teach spin, all that stuff. So when the pandemic hit, I was like, shit, I don't think the fitness industry is safe. It's like I got furloughed. Like I didn't lose my job, but there was no job for me to do. So because all the gyms were closed. So so after like but then during the pandemic, I have a travel blog and a travel YouTube channel that also got hit hard by it. And I've been working on it for like 5 years. So for me, it was like a double whammy. Like I've been spending time on fitness, got hit by pandemic, travel got hit by the pandemic. But the one thing I noticed that was growing during the pandemic was my YouTube channel on personality and the interviews.
Is that why you rebranded?
Yeah, no, I rebranded because I ENFP male. It was just like it doesn't really like it no longer served the channel because I was interviewing everybody. So I was like, okay, it doesn't serve it anymore. And yes, in business, typically you want to niche, right? But for me, I'm like, you know what? I want to be like the Joe Rogan of like personality interviewer. So like I'm gonna and I think it's also new. There's not many interviewers right now, so I think it's a good start. Like me and Benjamin were the first two, right? So it's like, you know, we got the head start there. But so anyways, after the pandemic, pretty much I was like, okay, not gonna do the fitness stuff full time anymore. I'm gonna drop the travel stuff. I'll do it as a hobby, just for fun, like just for me. But I'm not like for my FI. But I'm not gonna do it in like you know, like a side hustle kind of thing. So for the side hustle thing, I'll focus on something on like this channel, and then also I want to get a job as a recruiter because I'm already interviewing people all day. I'm like, why don't I just work as a recruiter, even though I have like no experience, right? So
but it fits.
What's that?
It fits what you're doing.
Yeah. So and like, so funny enough, I started applying for like jobs, like just send like massive amounts of resume. I'll just like recruiter position that I have zero experience for, and then, you know, like I was telling my girlfriend, you miss 100% of shots you don't take. 5 years of job experience, still apply, you know. And you know what, I got job interviews for like positions that I don't even have the requirements for, you know. And when they asked me like, why did you apply when you don't meet the requirement, and I told them the same line, I'm like, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, you know. And they're like, I like that answer. And then I actually got a job recently because like the person said, oh, what experience do you have, like, you know, with recruitment? I'm like, I have a YouTube channel. And then he's like, really? He's like, can you send me the link? So I sent the link and he hired me right away.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you are interviewing people, so you can interview people for OP. You can interview someone for a job. Like you just need to read up on what the position's actually about, and then you do the same thing.
Yeah. And then like funny enough, my boss came up to me today, and he's like, "So what's the stuff you're doing? I know Myers-Briggs. What's his other stuff?" And I'm like, I don't even know. Like I don't know how to explain to him because it's like he seems curious, and then I tried to explain to him. I think my boss is an ESTP jumper. I think SEFE.
Okay.
And I was trying to explain to him, but like, you know, he's not intuitive, right? He's like a sensor. Like, so I was like, okay, how do I communicate to him? Because he's kind of, like, even when he looks at resume, I notice he's like doing step by step, you know?
Okay.
And then I'm like, I'm not sure how to explain to the guy, you know? Because he looks curious, but I'm like, I wish I can communicate this, you know, in like for an ESTP to grasp it. So I'm like, oh yeah, this is tough, you know? Yeah.
Is it info or energy dom, do you think?
What's that?
Info or energy dom?
I think my boss is probably info dom. Yeah, I think because I noticed when he's looking at resume, he's like really really very careful. Yeah, and he also bosses. So
okay.
Yeah, I think he's sleep last. Yeah, he might watch this. So if he does, hello, you know, whatever. Because he knows I have a channel now. I actually saw him watching my YouTube videos in his office. Yeah. It's fine. I'm, you know, it's all good.
Well, I mean, if he's watching your YouTube videos, then you probably don't need to explain it to him.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. But I mean, you know, like with Dave and Shan, like they have so many ESFPs come in, so clearly it's attracting a lot of sensory types to go through their system. So they're doing something right, you know.
Yeah.
And I wish I can figure that out, but because even when I try to send people to their channel, they don't understand what's going on. So I don't know. Like I think you would have to be actively looking for it, otherwise you can't.
Yeah, I think, like, I know when I first got into OP, I found watching the stuff on Dave and Shan's YouTube channel quite difficult to learn from, because it was just all over the place, and I wasn't sure where to start. And I think that like new people coming in wanting to do the same thing will probably have the same experience or a similar experience where they might look at it and go, okay, this is too much, I'm just gonna not bother.
Yeah, I get that message a lot. Like in my YouTube channel, people are like, what is this shit, you know, like that's you know,
What is the
what is the shit? You know, like, And I'm like, oh man, if you only knew. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't blame them when they say that too. I'm like, it's hard. Like for
It
me,
is.
I got into it when just started their channel, like the rebranding of their
Yeah.
channel. Because it used to be called Dave Superpowers, right?
Yeah,
So
that's right.
yeah, I don't know if you saw his old videos, but
I didn't, but I've heard about it, heard people talk about it.
yeah, so he hid all the videos now. So the old videos are no longer there.
I was keen to see them. It's a shame that they hid them.
Yeah, I mean it makes sense because like he was saying stuff that are now considered BS, you know. Back
Okay.
yeah, like for example, he said Seth MacFarlane is an ENFP before, and now he's an INFP, right? So
Right.
so it doesn't match anymore. And before he was saying, okay, when you're dating someone, you should date someone like that shares the same saviors as you, you know, like if you're an INFP, you should date an ENFP or something, you know, otherwise you're gonna fight, you know. So that was like the old thing, but now he went like the opposite, like okay, demons only, like you know, focus on your demons, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah. So yeah. So and anyhow, we got off tangent a bit because of
We
us
did.
both being EP and channel changing and stuff.
Yep.
Uh okay. Um we haven't covered what do we miss? Consume, that's a big one here. You are
Consider, right.
double activated NF consume.
Yes.
Can you share? So I guess you would really like the NF stuff because you have it as a double activated savior. Can you talk about your NF?
Yeah. So the NF stuff is interesting. Like you're right, I do have an interest in the NF stuff, and particularly if it involves people. So I'm really interested in psychology and like that kind of thing. But I also kind of have an interest in weird things like astrology and, you know, and it's, I don't like sharing that kind of stuff. I don't know I'm saying it on a YouTube channel right now. I'm not into astrology anymore. It was, you know, a brief phase.
Yeah.
But it's like I found it really interesting, but then also I know that a lot of it is BS as well. So
Yeah.
I don't want to tell people about it because it's crap, but it's also interesting. So
Yeah.
it's like I really I'm gonna hate admitting this on YouTube, but I really like watching, this is a recent thing, reality TV shows so I can type people.
Oh, okay.
And I know that reality TV shows are also crap and that a lot of it's scripted and there's so much drama. But from like an OP perspective, it's really interesting to try and type people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I find with the reality shows, they're all ESFPs, you know?
Oh, they've got to be like the
Yeah.
crazy crap that they get involved in. I'm just like, how do you do this?
Yeah.
Like, especially on live TV.
Yeah, I mean, like the Kardashians, for example, like it's in the whole family, like her and her mom are both ESFP or something, you know?
Yeah.
Like Kim Kardashian and her mom, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
they're
think
both,
one of the sisters been typed as well. I think one of the sisters hasn't.
I don't know the other types, like, but I mean the other sisters. I just know Kim and the mom are both ESFPs. You know?
Yeah, so it's that kind of thing. Like they just seem to be comfortable with sharing that kind of stuff on live TV for everyone to see. And me as a decider, I'm just like, oh God, never gonna let anyone see that or know about that.
Well, she's super successful, so she's doing something right.
People like to watch it. That's the thing, and I'm one of them.
Yeah, exactly. So
Like, this is great. This is really juicy.
yeah, especially you're a decider. You love that decider drama.
I
That's
do.
like crack for you.
Guilty.
Yeah. All right. So let's go over the NF stuff. So part of NF is purpose and meaning in your life in a more abstract sense. Because it's in a consume state, basically you would get meaning and purpose from new life experience. Do you relate with that sentiment? Like whenever you experience something new, you feel like more motivated, you feel more inspired, you know?
Yes. Yeah. I read a lot and I'm constantly reading books about like psychology. One book that I've just finished is Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss.
Oh yeah, yes, I remember that one.
It's an amazing book, so good. So I have a book review channel as well on YouTube. So I'm just doing my next review on that. And I do get like a real kick out of consuming something like that, some new concept that I can then apply. So this is where the blast bit comes in, and the whole reason why I've been doing the YouTube videos, so like actually apply it to my life and use it, so it doesn't just stay as a theory.
Okay, well, share me the YouTube channel. I'll link it in the description so people can check it out. Then, like, unless you're scared to do that, then unless you're not trying to grow it, then whatever, it's fine.
I'm not trying to grow it. It's something that I started purely for myself, just to kind of keep myself accountable, and to actually do the blast and record and the editing and all the stuff that goes in, as you know, making videos. Yeah, so I don't really care if people watch it or not.
Okay, got it. So when it comes to NF consume, do you also like stuff that are like more fantasy based?
Do I like stuff that's more fantasy based?
Yeah, like Harry Potter, that kind of stuff.
I do, but so when I was younger, definitely, like, absolutely loved that kind of stuff. I really like anime and things like that.
Yeah.
But sort of as I got older, my focus kind of shifted into things that were going to help me grow as a person. And I'm not saying that like anime and stuff can't.
Yeah.
And this is probably where I went wrong, because then I went kind of all in on more sort of ST type stuff that I could then use in the real world. And I didn't have that balance between the NF stuff that I like and the ST stuff that I thought I needed, but didn't completely enjoy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That makes sense. Or did I just talk in a circle?
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. It's normal for your specific type of talk in circles. It's like the class and like the consume take you a long story and what.
Yeah, I'm really self-conscious about talking in circles, and like often at work when I'm talking, I always, not always, I'll take that back, often end the sentence with, did that make sense? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and then what do people say?
Most of the time they say yes, but I don't know if they're just being polite or not.
Yeah.
Because I hear the stuff that's coming out of my mouth and I'm like, oh, that's not how I imagined it, or that's not what I was thinking.
Have you seen Chinzia, the ENFP jumper in my channel? Have you spoken to her before? Or
only through text. I haven't done like a video call with her.
Oh, I see. So you chatted like on Facebook.
Yeah.
Like, so I've had her in my interview a few times already, and she always rages afterwards if she's watching this. Hello, but she's like, I hate that blast last. I talk in circles. Like.
Yep, I feel that.
Yeah,
it's really painful.
yeah. Well, that's good that you're doing the book review channel thing, because like you can blast what you've learned and hopefully you can practice like being more concise.
Yes.
I think like the moment David Chan talked about what blast is, I think for me, I'm like, what? That's what it is? That's what SITE is? And then I'm like, okay, great. I just practice it then and then it'll get better. Like for me, when I see it, I'm like, this is probably like one of the easiest blasts to explain. It's like SITE. So it's like step 1, do this, step 2, do this, It's like a cooking recipe, right? So like when you read a book, I feel like, okay, you should be able to explain that book to someone in like a step-by-step format, like, You
should be able to, yeah. And I guess like if you're just looking at it like that, it's not difficult to do.
Yeah.
But it's just difficult for me to make myself do it.
Oh, I see. I get what you mean.
Yeah. And actually I was thinking about this a while ago, like when it comes to tidal waves, most of the tidal waves that I get are from not blasting. So most of the feedback that I've had throughout my career has been that I don't communicate enough, or I don't blast enough.
Right.
And the thing is that I know I'm under communicating. I know a tidal wave is going to come, but I just don't do anything about it. And then it hits me and it's like, oh no, this sucks. It's like, well, you could have done something about it.
I guess because of your masculine NE, the tidal wave is coming.
Yes.
Can't do anything about it too, which is kind of sad, but it is what it is.
Yeah, it just doesn't hurt enough to actually do something about it.
I think it's because your blast is like an info animal. It's not like a decider animal. So it's not like the worst thing in the world. Because like play and sleep are like the decider animals. So I think those would hurt more. Like for you, for example, if you shared your sleep with someone, then that's gonna be very like sensitive,
Oh yeah.
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 Like even for me, if I talk about my SF sleep, I'm like, oh, it's very,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah, there was something that I think it's Shan said in an interview about your last animal is what affects everyone else.
Right.
And then
Yeah.
your last function is what you feel. And that's exactly how it plays out for me. Like my FI, when that gets hit, I mean, makes sense. FI, when that gets hit, it's really painful for me. But then when I don't do the blast, it's kind of like, I mean, it still bothers me, but it's not the worst thing in the world.
Right. Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
I heard that from Shan too. Like Shan, when I got my typing results back, she said, Kendrick, you need to share your SF sleep in your channel. Like that's pretty much what she said. And I'm
Oh,
like, oh my god, damn,
do I have to?
Yeah, because like I when I sent them my video, I was super honest and like as honest as possible. So they're like, oh, what the hell? You can use your SF sleep. Why aren't you using it on your channel? Pretty much what they said, right? Like your sleep lasts, but you have like 50% use of it. Why aren't you sharing it in your channel? I'm like, yeah, that's a good point. Feel uncomfortable doing it, but like
Exactly. It's like, well, because I'm sharing it on my YouTube channel where thousands of people are gonna see it.
Well, I mean, the reasoning made sense, like with the way
It does.
yeah,
Yeah.
like Shan said, okay, Kendrick, you want people to love you. So if you want people to love you, you need to show the real you. And guess what's gonna happen? People are gonna shit on you, but they're also gonna love you. So you need to accept that you're gonna get shit on, but you're also gonna get love. And it's like one of those things that you just have to accept. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
that's painful, but it's true.
Yeah. It's kind of a paradox. It's like you need to be authentic and like share your authentic self, and then people are not going to like you, but the people who do like you will actually like you for who you are.
Yeah.
But then the other side of that is, I mean, and this is probably the side of thing, it's like I don't want to offend people. I don't want to put my SF sleep out there and people like, oh, you're weird, or I don't like that.
Yeah.
And I also don't want that. I don't want to create negativity with that as well. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And I think
I get it, it's hard.
yeah, I think whenever you have a demon function, you also get weird about it, especially
You do. Yeah.
Yeah, I did like that interview with the ISTJ standard and jumper. They were like making fun of me, in a fun way, of course. Yeah, I was telling them, it's like, oh yeah, I started wearing cardigan, and then they're like, oh, cardigans are what nerds wear, like it's like an NT thing. I'm like, I was like, and I was like, oh, that makes sense, why I would wear a cardigan, because I'm
That thing on the chair is a cardigan, and I love it.
yeah, there you go. Yeah, you have a cardigan too. You're like, you got got your NT cardigan going.
They're great, they're comfortable, and they look good.
And then my girlfriend is NT last, right? So
Yeah.
she's always told me she loves nerds because she's NT last, right? So
okay.
and she thinks I look good in the cardigan. So you're always attracted like the opposite, So I was like,
well, as long as she thinks you look good in the cardigan and you like it.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. I do like it, and she likes it, so it's fine,
Yeah.
Like she's like, yeah, you should wear this cardigan,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like our second date, I wore the cardigan, or like the first and second date. She's like, yeah, you look so good in it,
Oh, okay. Well, that worked out well for you.
Yeah. I mean, it's like we've been together for 9 years now, but
Oh wow.
Like, yeah. Obviously, like we're in a traditional ENFP INTJ relationship, so
yeah.
Yeah, it's like we're like, as what do you call it? As like generic as it gets.
I'm dating an ISTP, so we got the EJIP relationship.
Yeah, that's very common also. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. All right. So what haven't we covered yet? Okay.
I'm sorry. I feel like this was all over the place. I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to be concise and I'm going to get right to the point, but that hasn't happened.
I think we're both like lead play, so we're gonna be like hopping everywhere.
Yeah.
I do find it like comfortable to talk to you because we're both lead play, so it's like, yay, we can like hop around, and
yeah,
it's fine, because like we're both doing it and we have the same function, and so we're like, yay, whatever.
Yeah, this has felt like a very easy, comfortable interview.
Yeah, like, and every time I interview someone with like the same function stack, I'm like, oh, this is easy. It's just like we're taking the same language. And I think also because you're like we have like opposite sexual modalities, So like
Mhm.
whatever you're double masculine in is my double feminine and vice versa. So it makes it like just a little bit easier, you know?
Actually, that's what you haven't talked about is the sexuals.
Yeah, yeah. So we're gonna cover that right now. You are visual and you are tester. So let's cover the visual side first.
Mhm.
How do you personally experience that?
Mm. So as a kid, I was always really interested in like art and drawing and stuff like that. As I got older, I sort of stopped doing that so much because I couldn't see any value in it. But I am very aware of like my physical environment, aesthetics. Don't look too closely at the thing on the wall behind me. But like the rest of the house, I've got sort of nice artwork, and I make sure I keep things very tidy. I think from a young age, I very quickly realized that people treat you differently if you don't present yourself well. So like dressing nice and making sure you brushed your hair and things like that was something that I really paid attention to. Yeah, I think that's all I've got to say about that.
Oh, I hate that so much. I hate that truth about like how life is, you know, with like the aesthetics thing. No, it's 100% true, but I hate it, you know. Like
It is true. It's sad, but it's true. Like I think
yeah,
within like 3 seconds of meeting someone, you've already formed an opinion on them, whether you're aware of what that opinion is or not.
yeah.
And it's very often like how they're dressed, what they've done with their hair, like whether they're wearing makeup or like how they're presenting themselves is what you're judging them on.
Yeah, but you know, I cut people slack now because of that, because I was thinking too, like from my own perspective, I'm like, do I judge people on that? I'm like, yes, I do. Okay, okay, I can, you know, it's fine. It's a normal human being thing, I guess. It's hard to
It is,
get away
yeah.
from it. Yeah. So I think it's important to respect the SF, you know, and just
It is absolutely, yeah, yeah. I think I guess because we have SIFI, like our SF is going to be kind of more tailored to us. It's going to be more particular, and I do find that a lot of SF stuff, like fashion trends, I find are ridiculous,
yeah.
and I would never follow them. But I do definitely see the importance in like making sure you're well put together and you're presenting yourself well.
Right, right. Well, you're visual, so you're gonna be very good at that, you know.
Am I?
Yeah, it seems like it, but like, you know, I've seen like most visuals I interviewed are they're like, you know, they just know how to look good, you know. It's like a thing. It's like a superpower, you know.
Yeah, I think the savior senses probably have a much better time at doing that.
Really,
I
maybe.
think so.
I feel like it's like an FM thing. I feel like it's an FM.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like the reason I say that is because it took me like I guess the most part of 30 years to actually kind of develop some kind of style. Because prior to that, I had no idea what I was supposed to wear. I was just looking at like what other people were wearing, and I was like, oh, maybe I should try that. Maybe I should try that.
Yeah.
And like the amount of clothes I went through throughout my teenage years and like early adult life was just ridiculous because I was trying to find something that sort of fit me.
Well, I mean, you are an EP, so like you're EJEP, right? So so it's kind of normal. You know?
Yeah, and I also think that the demon SF sleep as well probably played a part in that as well, just trying to find something that fit, and it was always changing and
Right. Well,
like
fashion always changes, right? So it's
well
like
it does, but like the number of times that I dyed my hair dark and then went back to blonde, and
yeah.
every time I did it, I was like, I'm not doing that again, and then I did it again because I
Oh,
forgot that I didn't like it.
oh, I see, I see. Are you blonded or you're naturally?
Well, so I was naturally blonde when I was a kid,
Yeah.
and my hair is kind of now like a weird light brown. So
Oh, okay.
yeah,
So okay. So do you dye it blonde now then?
I do.
Oh, I see. So it was blonde at first, and then
Yeah,
you start dyeing it like dark, like black.
yeah. I'm just meaning in like my adult life, like when my hair color sort of settled into like light brown.
Yeah.
And then I went blonde and then brown and then blonde and then brown. I did that so many times. Every time it was just like, this is bad for my hair. I'm not going to do it. I don't like it.
Yeah.
But I just kept forgetting that I didn't like it and I'll do it again. But
That's
now, now it's finally stuck.
So now it's blonde.
Now it's blonde and it's going to stay blonde until it goes gray.
Until tomorrow. Until tomorrow. I'm just kidding.
Oh, no, don't say that.
Yeah.
No.
Let's talk about your tester now. So tester is correlated with smell.
Yep.
So which is also taste essentially.
Mhm.
Can you talk about? Do you have a strong sense of smell?
I do. I do. I didn't realize that it was strong until other people actually commented on it. Like there are things that I smell that other people don't smell, and sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not good. But I really like I'll often buy things for the way that they smell. So I have like one candle in my house. I don't usually bother with candles, but this candle smells so good. It's the only reason I have it.
Yeah.
Same with like perfume. Like I have one perfume that I've had for a very long time because I really like that one smell. So I'm very particular when it comes to smells.
Yeah, it's like what's his name? Gordon Ramsay is like, FM, like
Yeah.
ESTJ also. So yeah, he's good at cooking. So
Wait, is he FM?
he's FM.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay.
Also ESTJ, but I think he's Blast Play, I think.
Yeah, I knew he was ESTJ. I wasn't sure on the modalities.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I noticed when he cooks, he doesn't like measure the stuff. He just like
Yeah.
throws it in. And he knows it though. He doesn't need to measure it. He knows like by heart.
Wait, isn't he a standard ESTJ?
He is, but he has feminine SI. So
Ah, okay. Because I was gonna say I don't measure things when I cook. I'm like, oh yeah, that looks about right. Just gonna check that in and then see how it tastes. If it tastes okay, then that's great. If it tastes weird, then add something else.
yeah, I think you're doing what he's doing, because
Clearly he's way better at it.
well, I mean, he has the reps in, so
He does, and I can't be bothered with that.
yeah, and he's Savior ST also, so he's like first. So even though it's feminine SI, I think he put the reps in that he feels okay doing it.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know what else we haven't covered. Oh yeah, let's talk about you being a decider now. So you're an EJ, but you have an IP swing. Okay. So and I like how in the classes the way they're discussing it now is pretty much EJs and IPs are the same people, and EPs and IGs are the same. It just depends where you are on the swing, right?
Yeah.
So can you talk about your IP swing when you become like super selfish? Like you've had enough of the tribe BS and you're like, nope, it's about me now.
Yeah. So when I actually discovered OP, I was going through like an IP type swing where I was just like, fuck everyone. I don't want to interact with anyone. I don't care about anyone else's problems. I don't want to help them. I don't want to talk to anyone. And so that's why I initially thought I was an IP. That was upside down. But I do kind of see myself do that in much smaller doses. So it'd be like all week I'm doing stuff for people at work. My mom doing stuff for, just stuff I don't particularly want to do, but feel like I'm obligated to do it. And then it comes to the weekend and I just don't want to talk to anyone. I'm really bad at responding to messages. I just consume and do my own thing on the weekend. Yeah.
So speaking of which, since you're talking about the weekend, you are energy dominant. So you do the play and then you do the sleep. So you know when to hit the brakes, and obviously you know when to tell the tribe, hey, you know what? Leave me alone, So can you talk about like being energy dominant and like, yes, of course, obviously you would expend your energy for the tribe on the front end, but then knowing when it's like time to just have your own time.
Yeah, I'm very aware of my energy levels and how much energy I'm spending throughout the day. I do try to have like quiet time in the evening where I just sort of do what I want to do and don't do the play unless I want to do the play. But the weekends are kind of mostly where I sort of feel it the most, and that's where I kind of have my alone time. Yeah, that's that. I mean, and everything that I do, and like most of the things that I do in life are kind of all around how long is it going to take, how much effort is required, and I'm trying to find, I guess, the best way to do something, like the most energy efficient way to do something.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, do you feel like you? So I noticed with blast last people, they're trying to manage their energy, but they end up losing energy because they didn't blast. Do you find that happening to you at times, or like not being info dominant? You know, like you're like, I don't want to deal with that, you know, and then later it catches you.
I don't know if I relate to that. I know that, like, I've noticed during the day I definitely kind of do my animals in order. So when I first wake up in the morning, I'm doing play. Then I do a little bit of consume, and then sort of throughout the day at work, it's more of a play and blast because I can't get away with not blasting at work.
Yeah, right. That's true.
The sleep often happens when I get home. Like I have to be alone to do the sleep.
Yeah.
And so that often doesn't happen until I get home from work. So no, I hope I'm not peacocking here, but I feel like I'm not bad at getting things done. And I think like that's partly having lead play and lead TE. So I still have sort of access to half of my TE. So I think it's difficult for me to really separate the play and the blast in terms of actually doing things, getting things done.
I think it's because your blast is your first two functions. So once you get started, I think you're okay. Kind of like how Shan described it. Like it's hard to get started, but once you get started, you're fine.
Yeah, and I have to put it on a to-do list because then once it's on the list, then I know that I'll do it because my SI has a weird thing about taking things off lists.
Yeah.
So once it's there, I will do it. And then I can't stop until it's finished because otherwise it's hard to get going again.
Yeah. And I think also because everyone has to go to work, so you have no choice but to use the blast. Like otherwise you would be fired.
Yeah.
Right? So
yeah, and also with the D, like I'm acutely aware of like that people. I mean, I don't know whether people can see me. I'm sure most people are not looking at me, but I'm aware that they could be looking at me. So yeah.
I think the good thing about your animal stack is because of your activated consume and your sleep. So the consume, you have like external self-awareness, so you can see yourself from an external point of view. That's why you were saying like, oh, people can see me, right? Which people do see you. Like everyone gets seen, right?
Oh yeah.
But you're more aware because of the double activated consume, you know, how you come across like externally at least. And then you have the sleep, so it's double feminine, so it's gonna be a little bit harder, but at least you can take the time to do that thing like internally.
That thing.
Sorry?
That thing.
Yeah.
That thing called sleep.
Yeah, exactly. You know, but I do believe like as like an EJ though, because I feel like the pure blood EJ is like play, blast, consume, sleep. You know, like, you know, balance with the consume and the blast in the middle. And double activated TE and play first because play is essentially like tribe, right? And sleep is like IP, you know, like So I feel like the EJ's trigger animal would probably be still sleep. So I don't know if that like kind of relates to you because you're an EJ and
when you said trigger, like trigger how?
It's like the hardest thing to do, you know. It's still the hardest thing. Like it's still like the most challenging thing. Like in a way, or like maybe that's the right word to say, but like okay, you know your fourth function is supposed to be the hardest, right? Yeah. And like you get triggered by that fourth function. You know.
Yeah, I do. That's true. I do get triggered by it. But I think like because I'm TE and I can't get away with not doing the blast, especially at work, then I am doing it. Yeah. So I think the sleep is often something that I have to make time for. Otherwise, I just don't do it.
Right.
I just go back into consume.
Yeah. What's still good, you still use the FI for the consume. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So it's not like you're completely like no FI, so it's still good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to talk about the EJ tidal wave. So EJ tidal wave is supposed to be like identity crisis and self-loathing. Can you talk about
Yes.
that too?
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's all good. It's all good. So I was in like a pretty bad spot when I discovered OP. And it was sort of my saving grace in a way. I got myself into a situation where I was completely ignoring my FI. I was doing too much for other people, doing too much of what other people wanted and not enough of what I wanted. And it was, I guess, my wake-up call in a way. And yeah, it was something that I was kind of like, okay, I'm never ever going to let this happen again. Like, I'm never going to go back to this place ever again. And so now that's kind of serves as my reminder. It's in my SF sleep. That is my reminder of do whatever you can to not go back there. Yeah. So there was definitely a lot of self-loathing and a lot of fuck everyone else, and I'm always doing things for other people and they don't appreciate it. And yeah.
That is tough. I find that the EJ's life is the hardest. Like,
Okay.
yeah, because of like the FI at the bottom. Like
It's interesting because as an EJ, I'm like, yeah, okay, it's bad. But I look at other types and I'm like, oh, that sucks too. Like, I mean, I guess everyone has it hard. Everyone has demons.
Yeah.
I really feel for the IPs, like wanting connection and just being too, I guess, afraid to go out and get it.
Yeah.
I mean, as a DE, I'm saying that as a DE, like I see that as being more difficult.
I think the difficult thing about the IP is the tribe is something you cannot control. So like so if you want to make a friend, that's really not up to you. It's up to like other people, because like for like as an EJ, if you need to do something for yourself, you can do something for yourself, and you don't need anyone else to do something for yourself. You just need yourself, right?
Yeah.
So in a way, I think what you're saying is very true, because like if you look at like the IJs, the problem is gathering. Well, they can gather themselves, not a problem, right? Or like the EP, oh, they just need to organize. Ooh, that's the hard. Ooh, look at that organizing. Oh, that's your biggest problem. It's not as worse.
Well, I mean, as a double observer, yeah, I can look at that and go, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
But as a decider and as a lead DE, then I'm looking at like not having connection as being the worst thing.
Yeah. Well, because like I talked to other IJs, right? And we're like, whoa, I'm still glad I'm an observer, because man, if I had a slider problem, oh, that would be horrible. Like so horrible, So yeah, because like the observer problem, yeah, it's bad, but at the same time, it's like, it's not people problems. It could be worse, like so. Yeah, no offense to deciders, of course.
I mean, I guess a lot of this is my type talking, and I'm well aware of that. But I really do think that people problems like cause the most issues, because like you can't escape people, right? Yeah. And unless you really do want to go and live in a cabin in the woods, you can't escape people. And so you really have to interact with people and get along with people, and like to have people problems. I think just creates like so much drama in your life. You can't escape it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's horrible. It's super toxic too, especially if you're like near people that is, like making you feel bad all the time, or or sometimes you're the bad guy too, right? So it's depends on the situation.
Yeah, and the issue with the deciders is that they're usually so afraid of causing decider problems that they just kind of go with whatever. And like this is kind of what I experience as an EJ, is that like I'm so worried about offending people with my TE, and upsetting someone in some way, that I often will just for a long time I had really bad boundaries. I mean, once I figured out what my boundaries actually were, I was really bad at actually asserting them and putting them in place. Because I was like, if I do this, this person's going to get mad at me. Well, this person's not going to like me. And so I didn't want to do that. It was really hard to actually start doing that.
And then when you did do it, did people did they get mad at you?
Yeah, they did. They did. And it's not easy. It's like, it's really not easy. And it's something that I'm still trying to do.
Yeah.
Sometimes successfully, most of the time unsuccessfully.
Yeah, no, I can relate to that sentiment. I'm sleep last, so it's only been like, I think it was like 1 year before the pandemic when I started setting boundaries also.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So it was like, oh, crap. This is something I didn't do, setting boundaries as a sleep last person.
But how does it feel once you actually set the boundaries? Like, is it difficult for you to actually set them once you know where your boundaries are?
I think the easiest way to answer that question is I can set the boundary once I know what the boundary is.
Mm-hmm.
And I will set the boundary. I will do it. But I feel really sad that I have to do it. Like,
okay.
I feel sad that I had to set my boundary to begin with. Like I don't want to cut this person off. Like, I like this person. So I had to cut people off that I actually like, which is even worse, So for me, that made me feel like really sad. Like I cut off like so many, like a bunch of people, family members too,
Okay.
So yeah, it's not easy, even right now I'm still trying, and my sleep is double masculine, so it's super aggressive. Like when I set boundaries, like I'm like double feminine place, I'm like super friendly and stuff. But when I set my boundaries, I am an asshole. Like my girlfriend told me this. Like, she's like, oh, you are so unpleasant when you set your boundaries. So I don't want to be in your bad side, because it's like it's really bad, like.
And then you're pissed off at the other person for making you have to do that.
I'm not pissed off. I'm sad I had to do it. I don't know if that makes sense. Like,
because I get pissed off when I have to set a boundary. It's just like, you made me get to this point, and here's the D blame. It's like, you made me get to this point where I had to put my foot down and say no, or say something I didn't want to say, and it's your fault. And I'm annoyed about it.
I think I do the DE blame thing that you just described, but I don't know if anger, like I'm angry at the person, but I can also see the perspective. And for me,
because you're a double decider.
Exactly. So I'm a double decider. So I think the way I see it is like, I'm just sad it got to this. I'm just sad it got. And for me, it's like, I mean, as a double decider, I always look at it as like, okay, who's at fault at this situation? Who's the bad guy? Am I the bad guy, or is the other person the bad guy? Because as a double decider, I cannot not look at both perspectives. Yes, I'll blame, but I'll also look at myself and take self-responsibility. Also, I'll do both as a double decider. So, I'll have to like mull over it. I'm like, okay, who's the bad guy in the story? And the bad guy is partially me, because I did not set boundaries. But the other person is also a bad guy because they took advantage of me. So, we're both the bad guys essentially. So now I'm sad because I didn't want it to get to this point where the boundary had to be set, and now the relationship is now awkward, or we're not talking, or it's just not in a good place. Had I taken self-responsibility on the front end and set the boundaries on the front end, this would have not happened. And I think it's harder from like existing relationships, because like new relationships, it's easier because you're starting fresh, right? So
it is.
So I'm seeing like with a friendship or whatever, it's not too bad, right? But with the existing one, I have to like redo it pretty much, and they're used to me being a certain way, and they're trying to always bring you back to that certain way. I'm like, I'm not that way anymore, so you can't bring me back, right?
Okay. And I guess that must be confusing for the other person as well. Because I can relate to this as well, where you let something slide for so long, and then all of a sudden you put your foot down and assert a boundary.
Yeah.
And the other person's confused because you're like, well, it's been fine for so long. So why is it suddenly now an issue? And then it's difficult for them to then change their behavior.
Yeah, and the other person also they feel entitled for that, like, because they lost something also. They lost something also.
Yeah.
You know, like,
I think they're in maybe their entitlement is justified in a way, because like I like, speaking for myself, it's my own fault for not asserting that boundary earlier. Like had I asserted it right from the start, like when they first did whatever it was that I didn't like,
right.
Then it would have been much easier for them to adjust. They would have been like, oh, okay, I won't do that again. It's not a problem. But because I let it continue, then I think they have every right to then be annoyed that they have to modify their behavior for me.
Yeah. Well, I think you're spot on. Yeah, especially like as an EJ, you know, like I'm an AP EJ, right? So
yeah,
I think it was worse when I was younger. Like I felt like there was like a sense of desperation for like connecting with other people. It's really sad. Like now that I look back, like I always felt like I needed to be with people.
Okay. Yep.
But it was weird. It was really weird because I was also a double decider. So when I was alone, I was like, oh, this is also great. You know, so it's like it was weird because like after like 1 hour of desperation to pass,
yeah,
I felt fine. I was like, oh, I'm gonna do my own thing, and I feel fine. Actually, I love it. So, like I like as I got older, I recognized that. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm fine by myself. I don't need people. You know, like I don't know where that desperation feeling was coming from. I don't know if you had that also, but like.
I think like with the blast last, it makes me sort of more on the introverted side. So I don't feel a constant need to be with people per se, but I feel a constant need to be with one person. So like the person I'm in a relationship with or whatever, because without them, I don't know who I am. Like I need that person to tell me what my identity is and what I should be doing with myself.
Right.
And I mean, I guess it's a typical EJ problem, having your identity last. You just don't know what your identity is without someone else.
Right.
It's really sad. So like in that way, I needed to be with people. But a couple of years ago, I like forced myself to live by myself and spend quite a bit of time just alone and kind of figure out exactly what my identity was and sort of work on that. So now it's not so desperate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see. Okay. There's a big
difference. I mean, it's never going to completely go away because I am still an EJ. So, but it's now I'm more aware of what's actually happening, and then I can sort of stop it before it goes too far.
Oh, that's good. That's a good thing.
Well, I mean, that's the intention anyway, and that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
But fighting against natural wiring. So.
Yeah, stupid natural wiring is annoying.
It is, yeah, but we can change it to a degree.
Well, I like the examples they give with like Jim Carrey, where he's like completely self-sufficient now, you know, and I'm like, that's like the ultimate EJ goal. It's like,
yeah, but people look at him and go, he's crazy.
Yeah, but he's fine. Like it doesn't matter what other people think. It's like for himself, it's like, I don't know if you heard what he said. He's like, I am enough, you know. Like I was like, wow. And when he says it, he really means it too. Like I didn't sense like peacocking, you know.
Yeah, see that's like I look at that and I'm like, okay, that's what I want to get to. I want to be happy enough with myself that I don't need the approval of other people. But I also look at him and I'm like, but so many people now think you're crazy. Like, shouldn't that bother you? But that's just me thinking about it through my own wire.
Yeah, but you know what? People think he's crazy, but the moment he makes a movie, they're gonna bow down to him again. So it doesn't. Yeah. People are fickle. They just don't. Who cares about that stuff? You know. You know. Yeah. So, like, even for me, when I get tribe hate, I'm like, people are gonna forget in a few weeks, you know, or like it's not like not the end of the world, you know, if you get tribe.
Unless they're deciders, they won't forget.
Yeah, but you know, I mean. You know, at the end of the day, you can choose who to associate yourself with. So if someone doesn't like you, then, you know, someone else will. So it's not the end of the world. So Yeah, I mean that's a good thing about like lead play and being EP-ish. You can gather new people. I know it sounds kind of cold, but it is like a superpower. um,
Yeah, yeah, I guess like that kind of gives you like a natural ability to kind of build rapport quickly with people. Um,
yeah, because like if you're an IP, you latch onto the first person that like is in your vicinity, right? And you're gambling if you're doing that because you don't know if the person in your vicinity is like the right person that you should be associating with or not, right? Like in general, like with everything in life, whether that be sales or dating, like it is like, you do have to go through X amount of people before you find the right one. Um,
yeah.
you know, um, my sister has a friend, I think she's an ENTJ, and what she said to my sister was like, you need to go through trash before you find the right guy or something.
Oh wow.
and yeah, so I know it sounds harsh, but that's what she said. So she used her saviors to just like go on lots of dates until she find the right person, and she's married now. So
Oh
um,
god. See, okay, so that sounds horrible to me. Like when it comes, I guess when it comes to dating, because like when you're dating someone, you obviously have to share your FI, and you don't want to share that with lots of different people.
yeah, yeah, I guess not. But I think even my sister's friend, it's so funny because my sister's friend looks like Shan, and then her boyfriend,
Ah, okay.
the husband looks like Dave. And I'm like, oh my god, it's like it can't get any more like stereotypical than this.
Yeah. No, there are patterns there.
Yeah, yeah. So
Oh,
I guess
it's great that it worked out for her, though.
yeah. So I guess what she said is true. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like it does make sense. And especially like if you've got demon identity, it kind of helps you figure out exactly what you want as well, what you're looking for.
Yeah.
So it is definitely helpful, I think, but yeah, it's also something that I find kind of terrifying too.
I think with my sister's friend, what she said was she can't like a guy too much because she gets obsessive with that guy, but she can't also date someone that she kind of only likes because then there's
Uh-huh.
not enough attraction to want to be with this person. So there's like a middle ground. So I guess that's why she ended up with like an IJ as opposed to like an IP. Because I think if you
Okay.
complete opposite, then
Yeah.
the infatuation will be too strong. So like the middle ground is like decider and observer, like
Right.
yeah.
Okay. And do you think she has FI?
Sorry.
Does she think she has? Sorry. Does your sister think that her friend has FI?
Yeah, I think she has. I think she's an ENTJ FM actually. I think she
Okay.
looks like
Okay.
Shan. Kind of looks like Shan actually. Like
Oh yeah. Yeah.
except she's Asian, but like yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
That FI gets attached quite easily.
yeah, maybe. But I mean, like a lead play. Even when I was like in my dating phase, at first I was like so sad. I was like, how come the girls I like doesn't like me back? And
Oh.
all the girls that like me are the ones I don't like. It's like,
Oh.
and I was so
Yeah.
annoyed by that, right? I'm like, I don't want to date someone I don't like, you know. And then and
Well,
I'm
why would you though? Like,
yeah,
you see people do that, and it's just like that's just stupid. It's not going to work out well for you.
yeah, like I don't want to settle, but I also feel sad that I keep getting rejected by the ones I actually like. And it's my
Oh.
fault. It's my fault that I'm getting rejected by them because I am acting needy because it's hard for me to find someone I like. Stupid
Mhm.
FI, right? I'm like,
Yeah.
so
If
when
I
I
was
find, yeah,
ridiculous.
when I find someone I like, then I act like a needy idiot, and then obviously that's off-putting, and then obviously the girls that like me is because I don't like them, so I don't care, so they like me. It's like so annoying,
Oh.
and then so I just like went on like a dating phase where I was like going out on like a bunch of dates and then I eventually met my girlfriend, and I'm like, oh, great, now it's mutual. And then now later on, I
Oh,
find out
good.
like, oh yeah, no wonder ENFP INTJ. Okay, I'm not surprised. You know.
Well, I'm glad it worked out for you too.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. 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 All right. We're gonna wrap up the interview here.
Yeah,
And
I was going to say that was another tangent, and I think we've covered everything.
yeah, we did. We
Now.
did. We covered everything. So yeah, so Holly, it was good having you in this interview, and I know it's been like months we've been trying to
Yeah,
like figure this out. So it's good that we finally
it finally happened. Yep.
yeah, we finally made it happen. And yeah, take care of yourself, and see you around the
Thank
group.
you. You too. Bye.